Lu Ran signed into the Immortal Cultivation Realm for 100,000 years and sent countless disciples to ascend. On this day, sign in for the 100,000-year grand success, and the reward will immediately soar. At the moment when Lu Ran's name appeared on the list of immortals in the spiritual realm, the spiritual realm boiled.Di Huang Yao Clan, Zhongzhou Haotu, Jiuyou GuiyuCountless experts bowed deeply to the list of immortals and said, "Congratulations to our ancestor for ascending to the immortal realm." Chapter 1. Waiting for Ascension. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. The ancestor of 10,000 mountains. The pinnacle of Kunlun. Lu Ran leaned against a blue stone at the top of the mountain, holding a grass stem in his mouth and squinting at the sky. Above the nine sky. A woman dressed in a red brocade stood in the void. Thunderclouds rolled overhead, and as the strong wind howled, the clouds continued to accumulate, gradually turning black and dark red in color. When red as blood, accompanied by a loud bang, thunderclouds burst open. The thick purple lightning of the bucket, like the ancient thunder god wielding power, penetrated the earth of the human world, and the target was the woman in red. The last thunderbolt. Lu Ran pouted out the straw in his mouth and murmured. The woman remained calm and focused, her spiritual power bursting out completely. She threw out each magical treasure as if it were free, dancing around her body. Click. Under the thunderbolt, a portion was blocked by magic treasures. The other part swung towards the woman in red. But the woman remained calm at all. With a flick of her wrist, a jade-long sword appeared in her palm, and she swung it out. The remaining thunder, directly shattered and scattered. Lu Ran, who was at the top of the mountain, nodded in satisfaction and said, "Not bad, not bad. Sakura Roa, this girl, is also going." As he spoke, Lu Ran's expression couldn't help but feel a bit lonely. At the same time, the thunderclouds began to dissipate, and colorful lights rained down with a loud splash. At the last moment, the woman in red suddenly turned back and looked at Lu Ran, with tears in her eyes. "Master." Lu Ran waved his hand and said, "Don't do this kind of thing. I said I won't let you turn back, go ahead." Tanging Rua lightly bit her cherry lips, watching the fleeting desolation on Lu Ran's face, tears of grievance trickling down. "Master, I am waiting for you in the immortal realm." After speaking, my body turned into a stream of light, soaring straight into the clouds. After a few breaths, the woman in red disappeared above the 9 heavens, and the clouds dissipated. The scorching sun shone down again, warm on his body, but Lu Ran's heart became a little colder. "Ah, it's been 100,000 years. Lu Ran sighed. 10,000 years ago, Lu Ran crossed into the cultivation world and, like other travelers, was accompanied by a sign in system, sparking and lightning along the way. In just 500 years, Lu Ran's realm has reached the level of crossing calamity and achieving great fulfillment. But the last glimmer of heavenly opportunity was never felt. Thunder cannot reach, unable to soar. I have tried various methods for another 10,000 years, but still haven't made any progress. Gradually, Lu Ran also gave up. Because of boredom, I have nothing to do and take in apprentices. I sign into the system every day. After 100,000 years of vicissitudes, Lu Ran sent away countless disciples and they rose one by one. Even the big yellow dog, a dirty white cat, and a yellow bird that had been treated by Lu Ran due to wing injuries, all transformed into demons and flew up. Tanging Rua was a small beggar found by Lu Ran in Haiyang City 700 years ago. Because of his good talent, he has already soared, and in the end, he is still the only one left. Slowly exhale a breath. Lu Ran habitually opens the system. Murmured, "Sakura Roa, this girl has flown up today, and I forgot to sign in." In the system panel, there are densely packed. Formation. Great Perfection, Alchemy. Great Perfection Refiner. The Yuan Man, Body Method. Great Perfection, Kendo. Great perfection, all attributes have already reached their full level through daily check.In. The current check.In is just a matter of giving some spiritual cultivation, but it's not important anymore. Lu Ran's current Dantian consciousness is within the sea, with spiritual power like a vast ocean that cannot be seen to the end. Sign in, Lu Ran muttered casually. Ding. Successful check.In, congratulations to the host for obtaining cultivation rewards. Congratulations to the host for successfully signing up for the 100,000-year anniversary celebration. Reward the host for crossing the tribulation and soaring. Lu Ran stood up in one fell swoop, and today there was an extra monotonous system prompt that had been playing for tens of thousands of years. Is it possible to soar after signing in for 100,000 years at the Yuanman? Lu Ran swallowed his saliva, closed his eyes, and the faint opportunity of the heavenly way was truly sensed by him. At this moment, Lu Ran almost burst into tears. But a few seconds later, he burst out laughing and said, "Ah! It's been 100,000 years, finally it's my turn." He can clearly feel that the day of ascension is tomorrow. Okay, tomorrow, I, Lu Ran, will open the heavenly gate with one sword and soar in the daytime. Spiritual Realm. Jiuyou Holy Mountain. On the cattail in the main hall, an old man with white beard and hair was sitting upright practicing. Suddenly, a disciple rushed in. Master. The disciple shouted loudly and forcefully summoned the old man out of his cultivation state. Li Qinghe was a bit angry and frowned, saying, "How many times have I said, unless the sky falls, don't come and disturb me? Are you ignoring my words?" The disciple swallowed his saliva in fear. Awkwardly, he said, No, the sky hasn't collapsed, it's just that immortal list. You asked me to keep an eye on it before, it. Upon hearing the three words, ascending the immortal list, the old man's face changed greatly. A flash disappeared in place and reappeared at the top of the holy mountain. He looked up towards the east. Amidst the flowing clouds and colorful clouds on the horizon, a towering ancient scroll of the heavenly way hangs down from the 9 heavens. From time to time, there are some names scrolling on it. Titan. Chen Yunlu Zayadungsing. Lu Ruoyu Disaster Universe Star. Song Shui Blue Star. Lu Ran, seeing this last name, Li Qinghe's breath suddenly became rapid, and his face turned red with excitement. Master, he's an old man, finally about to soar. Returning to the holy mountain once again, a thunderous voice emerged. All disciples, gather at the enlightenment platform. Not long. The vast Wudao platform is home to tens of thousands of disciples. They were not surprised at all by the excitement of the sect leader. Since the establishment of the school in Jiuyou Holy Mountain, all disciples have had a request. In addition to practicing, I stared at the list of immortals and waited for a name. And today, that name appeared. Li Qinghe eagerly ordered, all disciples go down the mountain and take over all the washing pools within 1,000 miles of Jiuyou Holy Mountain before early tomorrow morning. If there is a blue star coming, notify me as soon as possible. I will personally go and pick them up. At the same time, Di Huang Yao Clan, amidst 100,000 mountains. A 9-tailed demon fox emitting moonlight all over looked at the immortal list and let out an excited roar. Jiuyou Ghost Realm, the Ghost King deposed Luo Tian and forcibly ended his seclusion. My disciples are heading towards Zhongzhou in a grand and magnificent manner, with only one purpose. To find Lu Ran. During the Great Qian dynasty, Empress Zhu Shaoluo issued a decree. Countless experts from the Qian government mobilized and quickly took over all the immortal washing pools within the dynasty's territory. With the appearance of Lu Ran's name, the entire spiritual realm was completely boiling. Of course, people from other forces have no idea what happened. Only the brothers and sisters of the same school who came up from the Blue Star jumped all over the world excitedly. And their master, Lu Ran, had already packed his things and threw them all into the storage ring. That night, we arrived at the peak of Kunlun and waited for tomorrow to soar. Is this considered a leap in Chapter 2? You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. The next morning, Lu Ran, who had been excited all night at the peak of Kunlun, remained in high spirits. The morning sun rises from the horizon, but soon it is covered by clouds. At this moment, countless dark clouds are rolling and moving above the sky. Lu Ran took a deep breath, slowly exhaled, stood up, and looked up at the sky. The time has come. This scene has been watched by Lu Ran for 100,000 years, too many times. Every disciple was personally sent by Lu Ran. With the countless treasures obtained through Lu Ran's check.In and the divine weapons refined from refining, all disciples have failed. Today, it's finally Lu Ran's turn. Roaming and rumbling Lei Yun accumulated together in Lu Ran's anxious wait. You can see thunderbolts shuttling through thunderstorms and storms like dragons. Under Lu Ran's feet, the earth exploded with a loud bang, and the entire Kunlun mountains were pierced by a huge impact force, directly shattering. He rose up into the sky, standing in the void under thunderclouds. Chang! The cold sword and crimson jade emerged from the body, held in hand. One person, one sword, shake the heavens hard. Quickly, the thunderbolt arrived as scheduled, and the first thunderbolt with a thick arm was ignored by Lu Ranli, allowing it to penetrate his body. The feeling of crispness and numbness is incredibly comfortable. He squinted his eyes in pleasure, waiting for the second thunderbolt. Afterwards, the third, fourth, and fifth routes all the way to the ninth path. The ninth calamity thunder that Tang Yingruo learned yesterday plunged into the human world with a loud bang. At the last second, Lu Ran wielded a long sword in his hand, pointing towards the sky and unleashing a sword energy that was as intense as a rainbow. Scattered the thunder and split open the sky. Watching the colorful light fall, Lu Ran's eyes turned red. Subsequently, as Lu Ran's body transformed into a stream of light, his consciousness gradually became blurred. When he regained his senses, he was covered in knee-cold water. Lu Ran turned his head and looked around. This place is more like a pool, located deep in the dense forest. The pool is not deep and the area is not very large. It is a circular pool with a diameter of about 10 meters. The surroundings of the pool are intricately carved with strange runes. This. Lu Ran had some doubts, it was different from the imagined fairyland. And at the edge of the pool, 7 or 8 people were stretching their necks to look in the direction of Lu Ran. The leader is a middle-aged man. Excuse me, may I ask, is this the fairyland? Lu Ran asked politely. Immortal, this is the spiritual realm. Little brother, please help me bring out my young lady. The leading middle-aged man said with a smile. Spiritual realm. Lu Ran was a bit confused and hadn't figured out whether he had flown or not. He looked around and finally found a girl behind him. She lay on her back in the water, floating and sinking. The clothes on my body were torn many times, some areas were burnt, and there were also many wounds. But in this pool, the wounds on the girl's body are recovering at a visible speed to the naked eye. This is probably his young lady. Lu Ran picked up the girl casually. Because the girl was originally wearing a silk neon dress, torn and tattered, and soaked in water. Lu Ran's embrace was as if the girl was naked. The texture is soft and warm like jade. Because the woman was small and thin, Lu Ran took one arm from the girl's back and covered the side of Mantu with her hand. Subconsciously pinched, the feel. Good. Damn it, bold. Several young people behind the middle-aged man were torn apart. One of them even cursed, little brat, let go of me. Otherwise, I'll just chop you off in a while. Upon hearing this. Oh, Lu Ran let go directly. Pudong the girl fell back into the water with her face down. The faces of those people were twitching, their eyes as if they were about to eat Lu Ran. The middle-aged man who led the way was sensible and said with a smile, don't blame me, little brother. Could you please bring out my young lady? Lu Ran rolled his eyes and said, should I take it out or not? Did Lu Ran find that these people seem unable to enter the range of this pool? The middle-aged man chuckled and said, of course, I'm sorry to trouble you. Lu Ran then picked up the girl again. He walked out of the pool directly, intending that if these people dared to take action, he would immediately shrink back. Out of the range of the pool. The middle-aged man immediately picked up the girl. And a young man behind him roared and was about to come up and fight against Lu Ran. Su Chang. The middle-aged man shouted. Glancing at Lu Ran, he said, it's not easy to soar. He didn't mean it, forget it. Lu Ran asked, is this really the fairyland? The middle-aged man shook his head and said, I know you have many questions. Those who have just ascended are like this. You don't have to doubt whether you have succeeded in your ascent. It's just that this is not the immortal realm, but the spiritual realm. In short, ascending to the lower realm is not about ascending to the immortal realm, but about coming to the spiritual realm. That pool is the washing immortal pool, generated by the heavenly way and distributed throughout the 9 provinces. After ascending, it appears randomly in the washing immortal pool to refine your physical body. At the same time, don't you feel that the chi in your body has been transformed into spiritual power? Upon hearing this, Lu Ran quickly examined his own body. Sure enough. My physical strength is several times stronger than before flying. The so-called chi within Dantian Shihai is being transformed, but because there are too many, the transformation speed is relatively slow. This is also a name, because before Lu Ran ascended, he called the chi in his body spiritual power. After the middle-aged man's explanation, Lu Ran understood. The meaning is, to ascend to the spiritual realm and start from scratch. Lu Ran felt a bit depressed. This is different from his imagined ascent. Isn't this just a new world to start practicing again? The middle-aged man shook his head and said. Not entirely, there are local people in the spiritual realm who need to start practicing from basic chi refining. There are also many mediocre individuals who cannot enter the cultivation and become ordinary people. It's just that this is the spiritual realm with rich spiritual energy, and their cultivation speed is much faster. Moreover, there is no need to cross the tribulation. Cultivating to the great perfection of crossing the tribulation will directly elevate one's realm to true immortality. Lu Ran became even more depressed as he listened. Damn it, a person born in the spiritual realm doesn't need to cross the tribulation at all. He is in the lower realm, waiting for that glimmer of heavenly opportunity for 100,000 years. And, really immortal. Lu Ran roughly understood that this was the initial state of the ascender, which was the state after the great perfection of crossing the robbery. By the way, didn't you say that the ascender appeared in the random immortal washing pool? How did you know that your young lady would appear in this immortal washing pool? Lu Ran asked curiously. This is very important. Because if precise positioning is possible, why hasn't even one of his disciples come? Our Yuanyang star has our unique bloodline traction method that people from other planets cannot learn, the middle-aged man casually said. Just finished speaking. Suddenly, he remembered something and asked, by the way, which star are you from? Our master even instructed us to wait for someone to come to the nearby Shixian pool. Chapter 3. Little days are comfortable. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. Lu Ran pondered for a few seconds. He doesn't know what star it's called, but the mainland is called Xiantian continent. So he said, it's from the Xiantian continent. The middle-aged man nodded and said, I think so. With the vastness of the 9 provinces, how could one find the person master is looking for so easily? Say it. Looking at Lu Ran, he continued, my name is Mu Yunzhua. If you are interested, you can join our De Luo sword sect. Being a disciple, asked Lu Ran. No, those who have ascended to the realm of true immortality can directly serve as stewards or guests, said Mu Yunzhua. That's okay, Lu Ran nodded. Anyway, there's no place to go at the moment. I'll just join the sect and become an official. After understanding the spiritual realm, I'll make a decision and also look for my disciples. Mu Yunzhua chuckled and said, Don't worry, Suyueling, the leader of the Dalao sword sect, has unparalleled swordsmanship. He has a mixed yuan pound purple sword decisive move and is invincible from a distance of thousands of miles. He is definitely a super sect. Upon hearing this, Lu Ran's heart skipped a beat. Suyueling. Mixed yuan pound purple sword battle. Isn't this the chubby little girl with good swordsmanship talent from 13,000 years ago? Even the sword techniques were created by Lu Ran himself, the Hunyuan pound purple sword, which sounds like a round and chubby sword, used to tease little chubby girls. Every time, that little guy jumps around in anger. Of course, later on, with the continuous improvement of swordsmanship cultivation, Suyueling also stood tall and graceful, no longer gaining weight. That girl has already established a sect. At this moment, Mu Yunji casually threw out a disc. The disc grew in the wind and soon transformed into a huge grinding disc, emitting blue light and floating in the void. Let's go, my young lady is still asleep. It's possible that the thunder has injured the meridians, but it's not a big deal, Mu Yunzhua said. The disciples behind jumped onto the disc one after another, and Lu Ran followed closely behind. Then, the disc rose up into the sky. Lu Ran stared curiously at the disc under his feet. This thing is so good. Although it is impossible to determine the specific level, it is better than all the magic weapons that Lu Ran has signed in with in the lower bound system. What level of magic weapon is this? Lu Ran asked. Lingbao requires spiritual power from the spiritual realm to drive it. The lower realm does not exist, and even in this spiritual realm, it is extremely precious and difficult to obtain. Mu Yunzhua explained casually, looking proud and proud. No wonder with a sudden thought, Lu Ran opened his system panel. All abilities are still full, and I haven't checked in yet. Lu Ran chooses to sign in directly. Ding. Successful check.In, congratulations to the host for obtaining cultivation rewards. Successful check.In. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the Lingbao Qi long armor. Sure enough. Signing in the spiritual realm is different. The cultivation given has also become spiritual power, rather than the kind of qi in the lower realm. Even give it directly to Lingbao. The system is still the system, isn't it starting to take off again? Looking inside the Qiankuan bag, there is already a black treasure armor covered with dragon scales inside. Actually, Lu Ran was not quite sure if Suyueling was the chubby little girl from the beginning. Although the sword techniques are highly compatible, the world is vast and full of wonders. What if it's just a coincidence? But when Mu Yunzhua brought Lu Ran to the Daluo sword sect, Lu Ran was certain. No mistake, it's the chubby little girl back then. It wasn't that Lu Ran saw Suyueling, but rather the black stone tablet inserted into the ground in front of the martial arts arena. That's not actually a stone tablet. But on the eve of Suyueling's ascension, Lu Ran personally crafted a divine weapon and measured the sky for her. Memories once floated in my heart. Lu Ran recalled the days when the chubby little girl who loved to eat watermelons surrounded her all day. He couldn't help but step forward, wanting to touch the measuring ruler. Hey, kid, what are you doing? Mu Yunzhua was startled and quickly stopped Lu Ran. What's going on? Lu Ran was taken aback. Let me tell you, this is the favorite thing of the sect leader. She comes here every day to stop, and ordinary disciples are not allowed to touch it. Mu Yunzhua reminded. Oh. Lu Ran glanced at the measuring ruler and nodded, indicating that he understood. Let's go, let's arrange for you to stay first. When my young lady wakes up, I'll take you two to meet the elder and arrange your positions. Mu Yunzhua said without doubt. Lu Ran responded with a voice. After looking around and wondering, it seems that there aren't many disciples in the sect. Mu Yunzhua frowned and said, don't you underestimate our Deluo sword sect. Currently, all the disciples in the sect have gone to find someone, and of course there aren't many left behind. Even the sect leader has left. Lu Ran remembered what Mu Yunzhua had said before. What person are you looking for? Lu Ran asked curiously. It's okay to tell you, Lu Ran, the rising star of the blue star, Mu Yunzhua said without hesitation. Sure enough. Lu Ran glanced at the immortal list in the sky. Previously, middle-aged people introduced the function of this thing. I think Su Yueling saw the immortal ascension list, so she sent her disciples to find him. Is this blue star referring to the Xiantian continent? There's no hope of finding it. With the vastness of the 9 provinces, how could it happen to appear in the remote land of our Xia state? The blue star doesn't have our unique bloodline traction technique, and I wonder where the land has flown. Mu Yunzhua muttered. Afterwards, I took Lu Ran to arrange accommodation first. Anyway, it's really amazing. The accommodation conditions are really good. Several secluded cottages deep in the bamboo forest, with a large open space in front of them and a sea of clouds and cliffs next to them. What a fairy mountain paradise. Lu Ran is very satisfied with this place. Just take a break, my miss is awake, and I will send someone to notify you. Afterwards, Mu Yunji left. Lu Ran returned to the room and looked inside at his own body. His spiritual power is still transforming, but the countless qi he has gained through signing in for 100,000 years is still slowly transforming. Interestingly, with the transformation, spiritual power is increasing, and Lu Ran can feel that his realm is also rapidly improving. Hey, the cultivation accumulated over the past 100,000 years is not a waste. At least there is no need to practice in the short term, Lu Ran muttered happily. Moreover, this conversion speed is definitely much faster than cultivation. Accompanied by daily check.In, spiritual power will continue to be given. Just like in the lower realm, there's no need for cultivation at all. Continuing. With a sudden thought, Lu Ran took out the newly obtained Qi Dragon armor from the storage bag. Tossed and turned in my hand. Not bad, it's really a good thing. Lu Ran was full of joy. After recognizing the master, I also learned about the function of this treasure armor. It can be worn on the body as a defense weapon. When needed, you can also activate the Qi Dragon Protector. After studying, Lu Ran put his armor on his body and then walked out of the cabin, lying down on a recliner by the cliff. Squinting his eyes at the clear sky over his head, he felt a sense of relief in his heart. Although Feishan was different from what Lu Ran had imagined, the result was good. There was no need to practice, just continue to sign in, and you could still see your disciples. Little days are so comfortable. At the same time, a beautiful shadow floated through the sky and came from the horizon. Su Yueling has returned. Chapter 4. My master is the greatest. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. In the main hall of Elder Su Mei. Mu Yunzue carefully bowed and stood not far away. 2 people. Su Mei was somewhat surprised. Then it reacted. Yesterday, I heard that there was also a girl from your family who soared today. She is one of them, he pondered. Mu Yunzue quickly nodded and said, it's my Miss Mu Yao from the Mu family. The Su Mei in front of me is the elder of the Deluo sword sect. It was also the place where Su Yueling started his school. One of the participants was Su Yueling's good sisters. Did the process go smoothly? Su Mei asked casually. There was no accident, it was just that the thunder entered her body and injured her meridians. I have already given her a pill and she will wake up in a few hours, Mu Yuntrace said. Upon hearing this, Su Mei immediately looked hopeful and said, where does that other person come from? You can hear Su Mei's expectations. But Mu Yunzhua could only shake his head and say, "It's not from the blue star." Su Mei was naturally disappointed, her eyes slightly darkened. Of course, she knew how much Su Yueling expected from Lu Ran's appearance. But when you think about it, the probability of Lu Ran appearing from the washing immortal pool within the scope of the De Luo sword sect is too small. I really envy the bloodline traction method of your Yuanyang star, but unfortunately, cultivators from other stars cannot master it due to the relationship between physique and bloodline. Su Mei sighed and said. In fact, there are many people from Yuanyang star in Kyushu. And their influence is quite strong, because their bloodline traction method can quickly pull the people of their own tribe and twist them into a rope. People from other stars mostly fight their own battles, and with the vastness of Kyushu, finding their hometown can only rely on luck. At this very moment, a beautiful shadow flickered in and appeared not far from Mu Yunin. After seeing the person's appearance clearly, Mu Yunzhua was startled and quickly arched his hand. Dao. I have seen the sect leader. Su Yueling asked directly, I heard that there are two ascending beings coming out of the washing immortal pool that you are responsible for guarding. I seem to know what Su Yueling wants to ask. Mu Yunzhua said directly, yes, one of them is my young lady who was pulled by the blood of Yuanyang star. The other person, I have asked, is not from Blue Star. Directly dispel Su Yueling's hope, without hesitation. Otherwise, grinding and chattering, the greater the hope for Su Yueling, the more disappointed she will be, and it will be difficult to deal with her anger. Sure enough, Su Yueling's expression immediately dimmed. Mu Yunzhua knew he couldn't stay for a long time, so he said, how many hours will my young lady wake up? When that time comes, I will bring her and another person to arrange a position. In the past, when Su Yueling was present, it was Su Yueling who arranged it. But now, Su Yueling doesn't have that mood at all. So he glanced at Su Mei and said, you have full authority to handle it. Su Mei nodded with a bitter smile and said, don't worry, Mu Yunzhua. Your young lady's meridian is injured. Take a good rest tonight and make a decision tomorrow morning. Mu Yunzhua immediately nodded and left the main hall. He suddenly remembered that he still didn't know the name of the guy who flew up with the young lady. The boy from the mysterious continent doesn't know his name yet. Ask him tomorrow morning, Mu Yunzhua pondered. In the main hall, only Su Yueling and Su Mei remain. Su Mei is not a Blue Star person. But it was when Su Yueling appeared in a washing fairy pool. Because both of them are surnamed Su, have the same personality, and are both swordsmen, they soon became good sisters. Later, he went around and created the Daoyuo sword sect with several sisters of Jianxiu. Su Yueling dominated the sect with a mixed yuan pound purple sword, serving as the leader. The other sisters are elders. Until now, it has been over 10,000 years. Moon Spirit, don't worry. Since your master has already ascended to the spiritual realm, there will always be a time to meet him, Su Mei comforted. But he just flew up and only had a real fairyland. What if something unexpected happens? Su Yueling was very worried. That's not true. Your school is so large that it is rare in the world. It spreads all over Zhongzhou. Yesterday, you must have noticed that your brothers and sisters can always find him. Su Mei continued. Su Mei slowly exhaled a breath. Nodding his head, he said, I hope so. In the past few days, the Shixian Pond within the scope of the De Luo sword sect will continue to strengthen patrols. My master has been alone in the lower world for 100,000 years, and I don't want him to ascend alone. Su Mei nodded and pondered for a few seconds. Suddenly thought of something again, by the way, the Yijian Pavilion sent someone a few days ago. Don't pay attention, Su Yueling interrupted Su Mei directly. At the moment, she had no intention of anything. I know, I have already declined, but I'm afraid that the Sword Emperor won't be able to bear his temper and provoke him again. At this critical moment, many disciples of the great Luo sword sect have gone out to patrol the immortal washing pool, and the sect is understaffed. Su Mei worried. Sword Emperor. Su Yueling raised her eyebrows and said, "Damn it, the Sword Emperor is also worthy. He's just a self-proclaimed pseudonym. In terms of swordsmanship talent, even if the 9 provinces of the spirit realm are vast, no one can match my master." I can see Su Yueling's pride, as well as her soaring confidence. It made Su Mei a little curious. Even if Su Yueling's master has just ascended to the realm of true immortality, how high can his talent in swordsmanship be? She didn't know that when Lu Ran was in the lower world, he had already filled up his swordsmanship talent through check.In. No, it's not just about swordsmanship talent, alchemy, weapon refining, formations, etc., all at full level. In short, these days, you can handle everything within the sect with your full authority. I'll go around and see if there's any news from the other disciples, Su Yueling pondered. After speaking, he immediately left the main hall. At this moment, outside the cliff bamboo forest, Lu Ran is still enjoying life on the lounge chair. The feeling of lying flat is completely different from the feeling of lying flat at the top of Kunlun in the lower realm. In the lower world, it is like a cage, unable to break free for 100,000 years. Here, in the vast world, all kinds of beauty await him to explore. Of course, there are also the countless disciples who were personally sent up at the time. He is bored and continues to study the system. For 100,000 years in the lower world, the initial system check.In will give random talent points, cultivation, elixirs, and magic treasures. But with all of Lu Ran's talents reaching their full level, there were too many treasures to use, and his cultivation climbed to the peak of crossing tribulations. The system just gave nothing. But every time I sign in, I still force my cultivation, which makes the chi in Lu Ran's dantian boundless. The ordinary person who crosses the tribulation and soars, the chi in their body is like a pond, while the chi of Lu Ran is like a vast ocean. Coming out of the washing immortal pool, he was quickly transformed into spiritual power by the rules of the spiritual realm, and his realm was elevated to true immortality, and then the task was completed. But Lu Ran. I don't know how long it will take to complete the transformation of that vast aura. At present, Lu Ran, who had been lying for several hours, clicked on the system to check his own realm. Current realm. True immortal 6 heavens, 6 heavens. The small layers between the great realms seem to be similar to the lower realm, but the speed of improvement is a bit fast, sighed Lu Ran. Can it not be fast? The source of energy in the body is endless, like a power bank, constantly transforming into spiritual power and elevating one's realm. There's no need for cultivation at all. Checking in every day can also give extra spiritual power, it's simply not taking the heavenly way seriously. Why hasn't Mu Yunji come yet? I don't know if the chubby girl Yuling has come back, said Lu Ran, feeling a bit restless. I haven't seen little fat girl for over 10,000 years, after all. How about going out for a walk? Chapter 5. You pervert. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I wandered around for a few hours. Lu Ran noticed that without identity, it's just inconvenient and there are many places he can't go to. However, even so, Lu Ran was pleased that this vast sect was governed in an orderly manner. I didn't expect that girl Yuling is quite skilled in business. As the sun sets in the western mountains, the sky gradually darkens. Lu Ran arrived at the martial arts arena and stopped in front of the measuring ruler. When I first gave Su Yueling a measuring ruler, I didn't expect it to become scrap metal in the spiritual realm. The measuring ruler with unparalleled power in the lower realm may not even be considered the most useless spiritual treasure in the spiritual realm. Moreover, it requires the energy of the lower realm to drive it, and after the spiritual realm is transformed into spiritual power by the rules of the heavenly Tao, this measuring ruler cannot be used. Su Yueling didn't want to lose it, so she intervened in this martial arts performance. The disciples of the Dalai Sword sect walk day and night, always able to see, as if this is the foundation of the Dalai Sword sect. Ling Bao, Lu Ren already has one item, and he is not in a hurry. The rewards given to him every day for check.In are random, occasionally critical hits, and the reward level is higher and richer. Ling Bao will have it, everything will have it. New here. Suddenly, a clear, spring-like voice came from behind. Lu Ran turned around and glanced. Discovered to be an extremely beautiful woman. He was dressed in a goose-yellow brocade robe and neon clothes, and his status was highly respected by the great Luo sword sect. Yes, it just soared today, said Lu Ran. The other person mentioned by Mu Yunzhua is you. My name is Su Mei, the elder of the Luo sword sect, Su Mei greeted with a smile. Oh. Is this the elder? Assisting Su Yueling in governing the Daluo sword sect. I've seen the elder before. Lu Ren arched his hand and even bowed. The true immortal realm that ascends itself is not a disciple, but a guest, like a guest and foreign aid. So there's no need for such complicated etiquette. Just ascended, there may be many things you're not used to. Stay for a long time, it's good. As the great Luo sword sect, we dare not claim to dominate Shizhou alone, but within 1,000 miles, it can be considered unique. You stay here, and when you become familiar with the spiritual realm, you won't stop us if you want to leave. Su Mei looked at it and said. Say it. Thinking of something, he asked, by the way, what's your name? Lu Ran almost blurted out his name, but after some thought, he changed his mind and said, Yi Nan. Yi Nan is not a fake name, but a name from before Lu Ran crossed the Xiantian continent. When in the Xiantian continent, Lu Ran was unable to soar and wandered around the world with nothing to do, occasionally using the name Yi Nan. After all, in the Xiantian continent, Lu Ran's reputation is really too prominent. The reason why he doesn't say his real name is actually that Lu Ran has his own careful thinking. Now the entire Luo sword sect is shouting and finding Lu Ran. As soon as he says it, the news immediately spreads to Su Yueling. Isn't that surprise gone? It's been over 10,000 years since we last met, and this boring way of meeting is really boring. He will personally appear in front of Su Yueling and give him a surprise. This is a measuring ruler, although it is not a treasure, it is the most crucial in this sect. As a guest, you have a high degree of freedom, but remember not to touch it casually. It is the most precious thing of the sect leader. Su Mei reminded Lu Ran as she stared at the measuring ruler. When she said this, Lu Ran's heart was actually filled with joy. That chubby little girl has a conscience. Let's rest early tonight. With your current identity, it's inconvenient to walk within the sect. Tomorrow morning, I will announce your identity as a guest and issue a token. It will be better, Su Mei said. You are so weird. Lu Ran nodded in satisfaction. It was indeed nice for the woman to be by Su Yueling's side. Afterwards, Lu Ran returned to his dormitory and enjoyed the night breeze by the cliff. Su Mei and Su Yueling will work together to gather information about today's disciples. But the result is obvious. There are still some disciples on duty at the washing immortal pool, but after midnight tonight, most likely there won't be much chance left, Su Mei pondered. Although we had already anticipated this result. But Su Yueling is still very disappointed. Nodding his head, he said, it doesn't matter. I hope my fellow martial brothers and sisters can receive Shifu smoothly. Since they have already ascended the spiritual world, they will always see you. Su Yueling could only comfort herself in this way. By the way, just now I saw what Mu Yunzhua said about the ascender, who is still a handsome young man. Su Mei joked. How handsome can you be? Is my master handsome? My master is the most handsome. Su Yueling took the conversation and said. Su Mei suddenly felt a bit overwhelmed with tears and laughter. As long as it involves Su Yueling's master, she must boast about it. It seems that in Su Yueling's mind, among the 9 heavens, 10 earth, and 6 realms of sentient beings, Lu Ran is the only true god. Su Mei was somewhat skeptical, only saying that Su Yueling was a chick plot and was too dependent on her master. The next morning, the martial arts arena is crowded with people. There are still a large number of disciples of the great Luo sword sect outside and haven't come back in time. Su Yueling sat on the high platform in front of the martial arts arena, looking at the crowd below with a somewhat desolate and gloomy expression. The news of the disciples on duty last night has also been transmitted back. There was no news from Lu Ran, although he also received a few ascending beings and pulled them back. But as guests, they can leave at any time and can only serve as temporary fighting forces for the sect, and they are not yet reliable, so Su Yueling is not very concerned. The morning meeting is a tradition of the great Luo sword sect, which is mainly about adjusting the division of affairs within the sect. Occasionally during the assembly, the sect leader and elders will give public lectures. Just today, Su Yueling clearly doesn't have that mood. Just give me a simple explanation. Once you have confirmed your status as a guest, let's break up. Su Yueling said to Su Mei beside her. The other elders were all women, and seeing Su Yueling's listless appearance, they all felt a little heartbroken. But there's no way, yesterday has already passed, no news is no news. The ascending immortal list will not lie. Yesterday, the great Luo sword sect took over all the washing immortal pools within the territory and did not find anyone, which only indicates that Lu Ran's ascension point is not in this area. At this point, on the edge of the martial arts arena, Lu Ran has already been called over by Mu Yunji. Standing beside him is Mu Yao, the girl from yesterday. She has recovered from her injury and is full of energy. She changed into new clothes and did a simple makeup. Not to mention, she looks pretty good. At this moment, we were chatting passionately with Lu Ran. On the contrary, Lu Ran was somewhat absent-minded, squinting at the high platform in front of the martial arts arena. Above the high platform, the position of the patriarch. That familiar face, for 13,000 years, has not changed much, but compared to its lively appearance before soaring, it has added a touch of vicissitudes. Lu Ran couldn't help feeling a little heartbroken. In the lower world, Su Yueling, a chubby little girl, was not very good at taking care of herself. After ascending to the immortal realm, I'm afraid I have endured a lot of hardships alone, right? Hey, Yi Nan. What kind of expression are you looking at? It's too abnormal, isn't it? That's the sect leader, you pervert. Seeing that Lu Ran ignored him, Mu Yao beside her immediately complained. This Mu Yao is naturally familiar and lively. Lu Ran awkwardly withdrew his gaze. Before he could reply, Mu Yunzhua beside him said, Master Su Yueling, that's the goddess in countless people's dreams. It's normal for you to have your soul hooked, but when you come to the master later, you can't be so reckless. Lu Ran shrugged and said, I'll try my best. Chapter 6. Qualifications, but not recommended. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Lu Ran glanced at Su Yueling on the high platform. Her eyebrows and eyes drooped, indicating a lack of interest, and sometimes she was stunned. Mu Yunzhua estimated that it was almost time, and planned to take Lu Ran, Mu Yao, and other new beings around him who were willing to join the Luo sword sect and become guests. But at this moment, above the 9 heavens, a burst of laughter could be heard. The sound was not very loud, but it rolled like a thundercloud, immediately attracting the attention of everyone present. On the high platform, Su Yueling was stunned and looked up. Xiumei immediately furrowed her brows. Yi Jian Gu. In the sky, there is a precious-colored long sword, exquisitely shaped and exaggerated, like a perennial flying ping hovering there. 7 or 8 people can be vaguely seen above, standing diagonally behind a middle-aged man. Mu Yunzhua frowned and said, Damn it, why did this guy come again? Lu Ran glanced at Mu Yuntrace. Ask, do you know each other? Mu Yunzhua sighed. Dao. Emperor Jiandi, Lu Qingshan, the owner of the Yijian Pavilion. After Mu Yunzhua's explanation, Lu Ran finally understood what was going on. More than 10,000 years ago, the great Luo sword sect established its sect here, and within 1,000 miles, there were no large dot-scale sections. 8,000 years ago, a man known as the Sword Emperor founded the Yijian Pavilion in Lishan, 100 miles away from the great Luo sword sect. In theory, the Dalai sword sect would not allow such a thing to happen. But Su Yueling and the elders were all women and did not enjoy fighting, so they ignored them. After that, the Yijian Pavilion has developed rapidly. The well water should not have offended the river, but Lu Qingshan gradually focused on Su Yueling's Hunyuan pound purple sword technique. Even coveting Su Yueling's beauty. I plan to form a sword cultivator couple with Su Yueling and merge the Yi-Sword Pavilion and the Luo sword sect. So shameless. Lu Ran frowned. The marriage of the young apprentice is his freedom, but according to Mu Yunzhua, Su Yueling is clearly not willing. But Lu Qingshan still stubbornly fought, shameless. Even the title of Sword Emperor is self-proclaimed. When cultivators reach the realm of immortals, their appearance and age are already secondary. An old man with white beard and hair may not be as old as a young man. For example, Lu Ran, signed up for 100,000 years. A peerless antique. But age is not a problem, appearance needs to be considered. Although Su Yueling doesn't look as immature as before, she can still be considered a young woman. But this Lu Qingshan, with his middle-aged and overweight appearance, is he also worthy? It's really shameless, but there's nothing I can do. Lu Qingshan's strength is not bad, and the disciples of the Yi-Sword Pavilion are aggressive. The Luo sword sect easily doesn't rub against him, said Mu Yunzhua. Lu Ran nodded secretly. This was indeed Su Yueling's temperament. She doesn't think for herself, but for the countless disciples of the great Luo sword sect. The struggle between two sects inevitably leads to death and injury. Is this Lu Qingshan so powerful? Lu Ran pondered. Nonsense, it is said that the realm has reached the 5th level of immortality. Mu Yunzhua nodded solemnly. Shangshin. What realm is that? It sounds terrible, Lu Ran exclaimed in surprise. After becoming a true immortal, one becomes an immortal, explained Mu Yunzhua. Lu Ran's mouth twitched, thinking he was holding on to more. After becoming a true immortal, he would become an immortal. Lu Ran glanced at his own realm and fell asleep last night. His spiritual power automatically transformed, and now he has reached the 9th level of true immortality. He will soon reach the peak of true immortality. After passing the true immortal, is it the upper immortal? 8,000 years ago, the sword sect of Lu Qingshan had been practicing for at least 10,000 years, and now it has only reached the immortal 5 heavens. And, as Mu Yunzhua said, the realm of Lu Qingshan is still above Su Yueling. Lu Ran glanced at Su Yueling on the high platform. Shouldn't it be? Su Yueling has a good talent. Why hasn't she reached the 5th level of immortality after 13,000 years? Mu Yunzhua's eyes widened as he saw Lu Ran's strange expression on his face. What expression are you on? You think it's easy for immortals to cultivate. The cultivation before ascending and the immortal realm after ascending are different. Having good talent, one can overcome adversity and soar in just a few hundred years. But after soaring, every step taken is harder than reaching the sky. I have been soaring for 1,400 years, and now I am only in the true immortal 4 heavens. The further I go, the greater the difficulty and slower the speed. Do you still think that cultivating immortality is easy now? Lu Ran was shocked to hear it. He roughly understood what Mu Yunzhua meant and understood what was going on. The immortal realm after ascending is extremely slow to ascend. Mu Yunxuan took 1,400 years to reach the true immortal triple heaven. But Lu Ran lay flat and enjoyed the whole afternoon yesterday afternoon, it was truly the sixth heaven of immortality. I slept a little last night and woke up this morning. It's truly an immortal ninth heaven. Speaking to Lu, however, it is indeed not difficult. Maybe in 2 more days, you will directly advance to the realm of immortality. What about Suyueling? What is her realm like? Asked Lu Ran. The heavenly immortal triple heaven. Mu Yunji said truthfully. Upon hearing this, Lu Ran felt a bit overwhelmed with tears and laughter. Suyueling has been soaring for 13,000 years, and now she has only ascended to the heavenly 3 heavens. Lu Ran soared yesterday and almost reached the peak of true immortality today. And those little junior sisters and brothers of Suyueling who later ascended, probably have lower levels. By the way, and Tang Yingrua who flew up yesterday, the girl doesn't know where she is now. At this point, Lu Qingshan in the sky has lowered his height by stepping on his flying sword. But unwilling to land, instead looking down at Suyueling from a high position. Moon Spirit, long time no see, are you okay? Lu Qingshan said with a smile. I'm very familiar with you. Suyueling didn't even bother to get up and casually replied. Unable to find her master, Suyueling was already restless in her heart. At this critical moment, Lu Qingshan is still provoking, isn't it hitting the muzzle of the gun? Being brushed in public, Lu Qingshan's face stiffened slightly, and a hint of malice flashed in his eyes. But it's fleeting. Still smiling, he said, it's okay, I'm here today. There's no other intention. Your De Luo Sword Sect and my Sword Pavilion are also considered friendly sections. I came here today just to spar and discuss the Tao. Suyueling raised her eyebrows and said lightly, are you going to fight me? Do you really think I'm afraid of you? Although her realm is indeed inferior to that of Lu Qingshan. But within the same realm, there is not much difference. On the contrary, the Hunyuan pound purple sword technique granted by the master is enough to make up for the gap in realm. No, we don't have much to spar with. These people around us are disciples and guests of our Aegean pavilion. We come here to discuss this matter. Lu Qingshan waved his hand and said. Suyueling frowned. On the Tao. The so-called Analects of Tao is not about strength, but about swordsmanship and understanding of swordsmanship talents. Well done, is this Lu Qingshan bringing his disciples to compete with him? Speaking of the sword intent, Suyueling remembered her master who had not been in action that day. Under the sky, if we discuss the meaning of swords. Who can compare to their master? At this point. Among the crowd, Lu Ran also showed interest. So what, if it's more than sword intention, am I qualified to participate? Asked Mu Yunzhua. Mu Yunzhua glanced at him and said, you are a guest and qualified, but I don't recommend it. You will die very miserably and your artistic conception will be shattered. Your swordsmanship cultivation will come to an end. Upon hearing this, Lu Ran grinned. Joking, he's a bit weaker than his strength, but when it comes to argument he is at full level in swordsmanship. Chapter 7. Big Head and Thick Neck. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Mu Yao beside her is also watching the excitement. Upon hearing this, he immediately glanced at Lu Ran. He nudged him and said, we are in this spiritual realm, not to mention below the immortals, but within the realm of immortals, we are just beginners. Are you tired of going up and fighting with others? Lu Ran pursed his lips. The feeling of getting tired of living often occurs when the lower bound signs in for 100,000 years. It's just a journey, not willing to die. But now, the great mountains and rivers in the spiritual realm are waiting for him to explore, and countless disciples are waiting for him to reunite. He doesn't want to die. Perhaps this is confidence, derived from the system's confidence. Debate is not as good as sparring. This thing is much more vicious, Mu Yunzhua introduced. It can be considered a bad habit in the spiritual realm. If it's just a sparring, both sides will point to each other and suffer some injuries. Even if the situation gets out of control, there are still big shots who can intervene and block it. But when it comes to the debate, the sword and intention are in a fierce competition, and both sides have already blended seamlessly, making it difficult to part ways. If you're not careful, your mood will shatter. The consequences of the shattered sword intent can be imagined. Not only is one injured, their realm is damaged, but also their future career in sword cultivation is visible at a glance. That's the foundation of sword cultivation. So, in general, no one is willing to argue. Even those geniuses with natural talents are afraid of any accidents. Of course, Su Yueling was also aware of the consequences. But he couldn't figure out what exactly Lu Qingshan was going to do. Just for provocation. At this point, Lu Qingshan spoke again. Although my Yijian Pavilion was not as established as the Daluo sword sect in the past, I am confident in Yijian Pavilion's teaching ability. How about we make a bet today? Sure enough, there is a purpose. What do you mean? How do you bet? Su Yueling casually said. You and I, including the elders, do not participate or interfere. You, the disciples and grandchildren, as well as the guests, can all go up and compete freely. My people have won. You and I will become a Taoist couple, and the Dalai sword sect will be merged into our Yijian Pavilion. Our Yijian Pavilion is also willing to accept disciples, and at the same time, we are willing to pay twice the monthly salary of your Dalai sword sect disciples. The following sentence is probably to appease and win over the disciples of the Dalai sword sect. But it has to be said that it is truly effective. There are many disciples of the Daluo sword sect, and not everyone has such a sense of belonging. Especially for disciples from other sects, their talents are mediocre, and they work hard every day just to obtain a small amount of cultivation resources every month. If Yijian Pavilion is willing to give twice, not to mention the outcome of today's bet, when Lu Qingshan leaves, I'm afraid not many disciples will leave the Daluo sword sect and go to the Yijian Pavilion instead. In this way, the overall sect strength of Yijian Pavilion will surpass that of Luojian's sect even more. Even if Su Yueling doesn't comply, she can gradually erode it. Sinister. Lu Ran scolded directly after listening. Having lived for 100,000 years, Lu Qingshan knew what kind of shit he was pulling with his butt sticking out. Su Yueling also roughly saw through Lu Qingshan's intentions. Lu Qingshan knew that Su Yueling would not easily bet and was not so confident that he could win Su Yueling today. But with just a little thought, you can pry away so many disciples of the great Luo sword sect, earning blood. Su Yueling gritted her teeth. Even if she knew what Lu Qingshan meant, she couldn't solve it. Increase the monthly salary of current disciples. Impossible. It's already given quite a bit, doubling it. The Daluo sword sect won't be able to sustain it for long before it's hollowed out. Unable to find her master, Su Yueling became restless. Lu Qingshan still had to come to play with his thoughts, but Su Yueling immediately planned to refuse and drive people away. As for those wall grass disciples, feel free to stay or not. But Su Yueling hasn't spoken yet. Bold. I, the headmaster of the Daluo sword sect, how could I be so frivolous by you? A furious roar. In the crowd, a muscular young man walked out with a long sword already unsheathed in his hand. Fan Yong. Don't be impulsive. Su Mei was startled. This Fan Yong is a disciple under her seat. Although his talent is indeed good, he has also understood the meaning of swordsmanship and reached the realm of true immortality 3 years ago. But ultimately, he is still a newcomer. And isn't his stance equivalent to a challenge? Isn't it equivalent to agreeing to this gambling game on behalf of Su Yueling? Fool. Lu Ran sighed and shook his head. It's a bit impulsive, with a big head, a thick neck, and a simple mind, Mu Yao couldn't help but say. Unfortunately, Fan Yong was full of passion and blood. Without looking back, he said, Master, rest assured that I, the great Luo sword sect, am not weak in his Aegean pavilion. After speaking, step out with 1 foot. Ping. The stone floor under my feet is divided into 4 parts, with a range of 5 meters and a hard collapse of 3 inches. Countless green and yellow sword chi enveloped the body, and a strong wind slowly rose up. You should know that this is just a display of sword intent, without using any attack techniques. Dare to step forward, Fan Yong still has something to offer. I have heard that Su Mei, the elder of the Luo sword sect, sat down. There was a genius with unparalleled talent who had already understood the meaning of the heavenly gang sword during the tribulation period. At first glance, there was something quite remarkable about it. Accompanied by a light smile. Behind Lu Qingshan, a young man dressed in white brocade jumped down gracefully. Light as a swallow, with gentle steps. At the moment of landing, a long sword also appeared in the hand, held in a diagonal thrust. Yi Jian Gu, Lu Xiaoyang, lead me, said lightly say it. Not giving Daoyuo sword sect a chance to repent. Taking a deep breath, a wave of heat surged out, enveloped in his own sword intent, intertwined with Fan Yong's Tiangang sword intent. Is he Lu Xiaoyang? Mu Yunzhua exclaimed in surprise. This time, without waiting for Lu Ran and Mu Yao to inquire. Mu Yunzhua introduced, this Lu Xiaoyang is the son of Lu Qingshan. It is rumored that he understood the meaning of the fire robbery sword in 300 years, crossed the fire robbery sword in 400 years, ascended to the true immortal 5 heavenly realm in 800 years, and the true immortal 8 heavenly realm in 1000 years. He is a genius, with a strong sword intent and extremely aggressive, not inferior to Fan Yong's heavenly gang sword intent. However, Lu Ran heard another key point. Is there a child in Lu Qingshan? Lu Ran frowned. Then how dare you think about my little fat girl? I want to eat my butt. Maybe it's my ex-wife, I'm not sure about the specifics, or maybe she's dead, Mu Yunzhua shrugged and said. Lu Ran then looked back at the war situation. The sword intentions of both sides are intertwined, each remaining in place and their own spiritual power hidden and unable to emerge, creating a complete artistic competition. This has nothing to do with the Tao, it's just a product of the bad habit of striving for strength and competitiveness, Lu Ran muttered. It has no effect at all, just to suppress others and highlight one's own talents by pretending to be forced. 9 days above, Lu Qingshan was proud and confident, with a confident and determined face. On the high platform, Su Yueling furrowed her brows and found it difficult to dismount while riding a tiger. Not to mention the gambling agreement, it's just about the disciples competing with each other for swordsmanship. If they lose, they may have fallen even further into Lu Qingshan's scheme. Mu Yunzhua, as a guest, is very worried. Whispering, although Fan Yong's realm is low, he has a sword intent that I haven't even grasped. He shouldn't lose. The nearby Mu Yao chicken pecked at the rice and nodded in agreement. But Lu Ran pursed his lips. Dao said, that Fan Yong has been deposed. What should you do if you lose Chapter 8? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Some people always say that the concept of artistic conception is purely based on perception. I can't explain clearly, the way is unclear. But to Lu Qian, it's very simple and clear. These people may have never reached their peak, so they are unclear about the future ahead. Just like Lu Xiaoyang and Fan Yong in front of us. The artistic conception of the two was intertwined, and the disciples around them withdrew for a long distance, afraid of being hurt by the artistic conception. But you have to see, you can't understand. It's a bit similar to when Lu Ran was still on Earth in his previous life, 2 foreigners spelled Chinese, while the rest of the foreigners themselves were completely clueless about Chinese, so they naturally looked confused and listened in a daze. But Lu Ran could clearly see who said well and who said poorly at a glance. Even for Lu Ran, who has reached the full level of Kendo, looking at various sword techniques is like looking at a Chinese textbook, with a clear structure at a glance. At present, Fan Yong and Lu Xiaoyang are piecing together their artistic conception. Fan Yong's Tiangang sword may seem intimidating, but in terms of artistic conception and quality, there is still some distance to go before Lu Xiaoyang. So, Fan Yong's failure is inevitable. At this point, the Sword Emperor Lu Qingshan, who had a higher understanding of the meaning of the sword, could naturally see the clues, so he was full of confidence. On the high platform, Su Yueling's face turned slightly pale, and she could naturally see it. Unfortunately, we cannot stop or intervene. It's not because of Lu Qingshan's gambling agreement, but because of the artistic conception, but whenever you start competing with others, outsiders cannot open it up. Forcefully interrupting is a disaster for both sides in the discourse. After hearing this, Mu Yao beside Lu Ran looked at him with confusion. The reason why she is familiar with Lu Ranzi is partly due to Mu Yao's personality. On the other hand, the two come from different planets but appear at the same time, in the same wash basin. Mu Yao believes in fate. It seems like Lu Ran is her companion, but why does this companion look like an old scholar? She also glanced at the battle between Fan Yong and Lu Qingshan. The result? Completely incomprehensible. At this very moment, Fan Yong in the field began to uncontrollably tremble. The sword-intense strong wind around him also began to become chaotic and turbulent, and Fan Yong's entire face turned red. The heat wave of the fire sword's intent seemed to be roasting his body. On the other hand, Lu Xiaoyang's expression was relaxed and indifferent, even with a hint of ferocity. Above 9 days, the smile on Lu Qingshan's lips grew even stronger. And Su Yueling, with one hand tightly gripping the armrest of the seat, her knuckles turned slightly white due to the force. She slowly exhaled and said, "Fan Yong. Lost." Next second, Pup Fan Yong suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood, and the Tiangang sword aura beside him dissipated with a loud bang. Fan Yong was completely lethargic, panting heavily. Across from him, Lu Xiaoyang chuckled and dispersed his sword intent. With a raised eyebrow, he said, "Please accept." Just 2 simple words, but it made Fan Yong feel extremely ashamed in his heart. But more importantly, it's despair. His foundation in swordsmanship has been destroyed. The originally promising future came to an abrupt end. Unfortunately, I have heard of Fan Yong. I thought he could impress me, but in the end, he is so vulnerable, Lu Qingshan said with a strange tone. It's hard to conceal excitement. Su Mei flashed up beside Fan Yong, reached out and looked even worse. At this time, Fan Yong's internal channels and collaterals were broken, and the elixir field was in chaos. Master. Fan Yong looked at Su Mei with guilt. Don't say too much, concentrate and condense your energy, Su Mei gave him a pill and instructed. Subsequently, someone took Fan Yong down to rest. Su Mei looked up at Lu Xiaoyang. The latter's gaze trembled slightly, but then he forced himself to provoke and said, "Does the elder intend to argue?" Su Mei said lightly, "I mean it, but do you dare?" Lu Xiaoyang's expression instantly froze. She didn't know Su Meijian's cultivation level, but just this aura scared the Tianjiao from speaking up. Fortunately, at a critical moment, Lu Qingshan interjected, "Elder, please don't interfere. Don't forget the rules of the gambling agreement, disciples are all watching." Lu Qingshan also knows Su Mei's abilities, so he dare not take risks easily. Humph. Su Mei snorted coldly and returned to her seat. Su Yueling and Su Mei exchanged a glance, including the other elders, all with furrowed brows. This Fan Yong is too impulsive and has pushed things to this point. What should he do? Although Lu Xiaoyang is arrogant, he does have the capital to be arrogant. With his current state and age, his understanding of sword spirit is rare. No wonder Lu Qingshan dared to bring people to provoke him. Off-site. Mu Yunzhua sighed and said, "That Fan Yong is too foolish. There is no way to end it now. This wave of the Great Luo Sword sect is destined to suffer heavy losses. Mu Yao was a bit dissatisfied. Of course this sword intent is so terrifying. With so many disciples of the Great Luo Sword sect, no one can cure that Lu Xiaoyang. Mu Yunzhua shook his head. Then he said, not really. They are just disciples in the sect who have not yet reached the immortal realm. Among the disciples in the immortal realm, Fan Yong's Tiangang sword intention ranked among the top 3, but was easily defeated. As for those guests, don't think about it, they are just guests and foreign aid. They can watch good movies and work hard. Forget it. Moreover, intervening as a guest, taking risks and offending Lu Qingshan again is not cost-effective. After all, I still dare not. There is something about Lu Xiaoyang's intention of using the fire-robbing sword. That senior brother just now, I'm sorry, but when it comes to argumentation, isn't that how it is? That's not my fault, said Lu Xiaoyang. I couldn't say it right, but my face was provocative and proud. The disciples of the Daluo sword sect were extremely angry one by one. The entire martial arts arena also became noisy. Damn it, it's too arrogant. Does this completely disregard our Dalai sword sect? If someone has this capital, of course they can be arrogant. The double monthly salary mentioned by Emperor Jian earlier is mostly true, isn't it? Emperor Jian won't lie, Jian Gu is worth considering. Just by listening to the noise, one can roughly see the effectiveness of Lu Qingshan's strategy. What's going on? There's no one left. I've already learned Fan Yong's Tiangang sword technique, and it's just average. Isn't that the representative of your disciples of the Daluo sword sect? Lu Xiaoyang continued to provoke. Su Yueling and others looked embarrassed. In the Daluo sword sect, besides Su Yueling and the elders, there are also disciples who have a higher understanding of the artistic conception than Fan Yong. But most likely, they cannot defeat this Lu Xiaoyang. Is it difficult to send them up one by one and get them scrapped? At this moment, Lu Qingshan also shouted, since no one is willing to argue, then our gambling agreement. I haven't finished speaking. Just interrupted by a voice in the crowd. Since it's a bet, it's just a joke to talk about how you won. What if you lose? What should we do? This statement immediately caught everyone's attention. Outside the field, Lu Ran walked step by step out of the group of disciples, lazily speaking. It was too late for Mu Yunzhua and Mu Yao to try to pull him out of fear. It's over, this kid has a big head. Yao Yao, you have to stay away from him in the future. Mu Yunzhua said. Above the 9 heavens, Lu Qingshan looked at Lu Ran. Inside the venue, Lu Xiaoyang's gaze also turned to him. Above the high platform. Su Yueling was familiar with the sound and instinctively turned her head to look over. Chapter 9. My master cannot lose. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. With just one glance, Su Yueling felt like she had been struck by lightning. She stared at Lu Ran in a daze, her originally restless heart instantly overwhelmed by ecstasy and disbelief. Over 13,000 years. Day and night, the face that Su Yu's soul had been holding onto her dream appeared vividly before her eyes. Still being so cynical and lazy. Her breathing was a bit rapid, and she even doubted if she was dreaming. And beside her, Su Mei furrowed her brows. Shocked, Yi Nan. Why is he? Yi Nan. Su Yueling was taken aback for a moment and immediately reacted. That's right, Yi Nan. That's a fake name that Master occasionally uses when wandering in the lower world. At the same time, the elders of the Daluo sword sect looked at each other, not knowing who this person was. Is it a disciple? No, disciples of the immortal realm, they can't possibly not know. To talk about Kuqing, the Luo sword sect Kuqing, they must know. But this person in front of me doesn't have much impression. Is it a new guest? Those with the same doubts also belonged to Lu Qingshan and others, as well as Lu Xiaoyang across from Lu Ran. Lu Qingshan furrowed his brows and lowered his voice to the person beside him, saying, "Who is this person?" I can see Lu Qingshan's caution. Before coming, all the guests and disciples of the Dalai sword sect, big and small, who were talented and understood the meaning of the sword, were clear about its attributes. This is also why Lu Qingshan and others are so confident in coming to preach. But what kind of person is the one standing up right now? Returning to my lord, it seems that this person was not mentioned in the information we have collected, said the person around me awkwardly. At the same time, countless disciples also looked curiously at Lu Ran's direction. Watching Senior Fan Yong being suppressed, his sword intent shattered, and his foundation destroyed, how could anyone dare to take risks? Cowherd. Especially Mu Yunji and Mu Yao. In the eyes of the two of them, Lu Ran was simply a stunned young man who didn't know the superiority of heaven and earth. The leader who crossed the tribulation period in the lower world is indeed a magnificent figure. But in the spiritual realm, the true immortal after soaring is nothing. At this moment, come out and pretend to be forced, I'm afraid you're not trying to die. On the contrary, as the party involved, Lu Ran looked at the stage with a calm and relaxed demeanor. Looking at Su Yueling with 4 eyes, Lu Ran squeezed his left eye and raised his eyebrows. Su Yueling's face turned red as she was startled. I thought to myself, it's been over 10,000 years since I last saw you. It's still that old and unprofessional person. Then, Lu Ran turned around and continued shouting, what kind of mountain is Lu here? Didn't you hear me? Since it's a bet, just saying that you won is not funny, right? What if you lose? What do you say? This Lu Qingshan. Lu Qingshan corrected lightly. As for what to say about losing, Lu Qingshan really hasn't thought about it. Because we are well prepared this time, we are here to start the show. It was agreed in advance that the sect leader and elders were not allowed to interfere, and I had planned to be foolproof. But as a result, an unknown person emerged. It's okay to call it whatever you want. It's okay to be willing to gamble and admit defeat, but the bet must be made clear. We only talk about how you won, not the cost of losing. How could there be such shameless gambling in the world? Lu Ran's words can be said without hesitation. Everyone just recovered from the shock of the sword intent confrontation just now. Yes, I came to bet with someone showing off his strength, although it was true that Lu Xiaoyang's performance was very strong. But there's a problem with this bet. Being pointed out by Lu Ran, a murmuring noise immediately came from around. Lu Qingshan's blush, and the momentum created by Lu Xiaoyang's suppression of Fan Yong was weakened by 3 points in an instant. I forgot, but it's okay, there's still time. Since you brought it up, let's talk about it. If we lose, what should we do? Lu Qingshan retorted. The words have just finished. Lu Ran rolled his eyes and said, are you all right? You came here to bet, and you didn't even think about the cost of losing. What are you doing here? You. Lu Qingshan gritted his teeth. It's the first time anyone dares to talk to him like this. He can feel the other person's realm, which is the true immortal realm. But he can't take action, because the rules of the gambling agreement are what he proposed. Joke, if I dare to argue with Yijian Pavilion, I naturally have a gambling agreement in mind, but I just forgot to mention it. Since that's the case, it's okay to tell you. If Yijian Pavilion loses this time, we won't have any contact with the Daluo sword sect for 3 years. This is the result of Lu Qingshan's careful consideration. But as soon as he finished speaking, Lu Ran burst out laughing. What are you laughing at? Lu Qingshan's eyebrows twitched fiercely, really annoying. This sudden pressure is not giving him any face. Luqiu Mountain. Lu Qingshan. Lord of Yijian Pavilion, Sword Emperor Lu Qingshan. Lu Qingshan gritted his teeth and corrected. Oh, it's all good. Lu Qingshan is Lu Qingshan, and the Sword Emperor is fine. Are you serious about this bet? Lu Ran asked. What do you mean? Where are you not serious? Lu Qingshan asked in response. You win, Su Yueling, and you become a Taoist couple, and the great Luo sword clan is merged into the Yi Sword Pavilion. It doesn't cost much. If you lose, you can go back and have peace for 3 years. Are you his mother teasing me? Lu Ren asked rudely. It's just a big weird flower. If you win, you will receive both wealth and wealth. If you lose, you will go back and rest. You just need to rest for 3 years without harassing the Luo sword sect. I want to eat my butt. Caught by Lu Ran again, the disciples around were booing incessantly. The few guests beside Lu Qingshan blushed, and even Lu Xiaoyang below felt embarrassed. That sounds really shameless. Then you say, what should we do? Lu Qingshan felt a little annoyed. Lu Ran smiled at the corners of his mouth, but he didn't expect that after more than 10,000 years of cultivation, Lu Qingshan's character would be so poor. Is this making you angry? Simply put, since it's a bet, everyone has to pay the same price. If you win, as you said, Su Yueling and you will become a Taoist couple, and the great Luo sword sect will merge into your Yijian Pavilion. But if you lose, don't merge. You Yijian Pavilion, just close the door and be lucky. Only then can it be considered fair. After Lu Ran finished speaking, Lu Qingshan's face slightly changed. This bet is a bit big. Although he is confident, this suddenly emerging guy doesn't know the details. Secondly, if you agree, if you really lose, you won't be able to step down. After thinking about it, Lu Qingshan still felt a bit hesitant and planned to find a step on Su Yueling. With a smile, he said, it's indeed fair, and I can agree, but it doesn't seem like you, Su Zhongzhou of the Dalao sword sect. I promise. This bet is exactly what I want, Su Yueling interrupted Lu Qingshan directly. Joking, Su Yueling's almost blind worship of Lu Ran. For Su Yueling, she doesn't care what Lu Ran is doing, because no matter what she does, Master cannot lose. Su Mei and other elders around her changed their faces greatly and looked at Su Yueling in surprise. What's going on? How did you change your mind so well? Just now, I was still in such a difficult situation and forced to climb Liangshan, but now I am so confident and confident. Where did you get your confidence? Looking up at Yinan standing lazily on the martial arts arena. Is it because of him? A true immortal who just flew up yesterday. If this goods are lost, the consequences can be imagined. Chapter 10. Visiting Master. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Of course, it's not just Su Yueling who trusts Lu Ran so much. Lu Ran himself is also very confident. The enlightenment and blessing of reaching the full level of swordsmanship, in his eyes, was what Lu Xiaoyang called the meaning of the fire-robbing sword. How to put it, garbage is not a big deal, but it's not bad either. Children's toys are average. Su Yueling's words once again made the atmosphere present strange. Even discerning people can see that this wave of the great Luo sword sect has been driven to the market. Minimizing losses and avoiding gambling contracts is the key. Anyway, Su Yueling did not agree. It was Fan Yong who took the initiative to come forward, and there is still a chance to make up for it afterwards. But unexpectedly, Su Yueling admitted to the gambling agreement. In this way, the gambling agreement is established. Lu Qingshan himself also said that he can agree. Since that's the case, Lu Qingshan hesitated a bit. Staring at Lu Ran, he asked, "Who are you? Don't forget the rules of this gambling agreement. If you're an outsider, you're not qualified to interfere." Lu Ran waved his hand and directly interrupted Lu Qingshan's words. Dao said, "My name is Yinan, a guest of the Dalao sword sect, and I am among the scholars of Taoism." The words have just finished. Lu Xiaoyang, who had been ignored by Lu Ran, couldn't hold back now. Haha. Kid, you're quite confident. How much do you look down on me? Anyway, this can be considered as throwing the sky-shattering wealth onto my Aegean pavilion. Come on, talk. He smiled heartily, but his heart was filled with anger. Having outstanding talent in swordsmanship since childhood, and also comprehending the meaning of the fire-robbing sword, within the same realm, it is rare to encounter opponents. But he was ignored by a guy like this, not wanting to avoid it, but instead consolidating his bet as surely as possible. How confident is this that it can take me? This invisible contempt really made Lu Xiaoyang furious. Say it. Without waiting for any reaction from Lu Qingshan, the intent of the fire saber on his body erupted suddenly. This time there is still a difference from before. Lu Xiaoyang was surrounded by heaven and earth, twisted and transformed into flame lotus flowers due to the envelopment of sword intent. Upon closer inspection, every petal of the flame lotus seems to be condensed from sword energy. Fantasy. Su Mei and others on the high platform were surprised. When discussing swordsmanship with Lu Xiaoyang and Fan Yong, they still hid their secrets and did not fully release their understanding of swordsmanship. The sword intent that can trigger anomalies, to some extent, even surpasses Su Mei. Done, this wave of the great Luo sword sect is going to be completely abolished. This is the only thought in the hearts of the elders and countless disciples of the Dalai sword sect. Su Mei turned her head to look at Su Yueling. Strangely enough. At this moment, Su Yueling swept away her previously dejected and gloomy demeanor, and instead, she was full of energy, unable to sit still as if burning her buttocks in a chair. His eyes were bright, and from Yi Nan's appearance until now, his gaze had not moved a single moment. I seem reluctant to even blink an eye. Moon spirit. What do you mean by this? Su Mei couldn't help but lower her voice and ask. Just watch the play, Su Yueling smiled. Watching a play. Do you know what this gambling agreement means? Yi Nan, who soared yesterday, how dare you? Halfway through, Su Mei suddenly froze. Not right. She suddenly turned her head to look at Lu Ran, and of course, it was clear at a glance that Lu Ran was in the realm of true immortality. But that deep and rich aura did not have the impetuous aura of a newly rising minion. Su Mei is a bit confused. Because last night, when he first saw this product, his breath was not as strong as before. Although she couldn't figure it out, Su Mei's heart sank to the bottom when she saw the intent of the fire saber completely enveloping Lu Ran. No matter how much you pretend to be a god or a ghost, in front of the sword intent competition, it's all nonsense. I didn't expect that Lu Xiaoyang's sword intent had reached such a terrifying level. On Lu Ran's side, it was incredibly easy. As he watched the intent of the fire-robbing sword rush towards him, he didn't hide or dodge, like basking in the spring breeze. The clothes on his body made a hunting sound under the cover of the intent of the fire-robbing sword, and he was like a flat boat floating in the raging wind and waves. Of course, this is just the opinion of others. In Lu Xiaoyang's mind at this moment, his sword intent was overwhelming, while Yi Nan across from him seemed like a Dinghai needle, towering and motionless. Above the sky, Lu Qingshan breathed a deep sigh of relief as he watched Landing Xiaoyang unleash his sword spirit to its peak. Whispering, although it's a bit earlier than I expected, it doesn't matter. Su Yueling has already agreed to the bet, so take this opportunity and win the great Luo sword sect in one fell swoop. Can be done in the next second. Call me a kid. No big or small. Lu Ran murmured, then suddenly lifted his foot and took a leisurely walk in the mood of the fire-robbing sword. Not towards the landing of Xiaoyang, but towards the oblique front, with a measuring ruler inserted on the ground. The raging intent of the fire-robbing sword seemed to have no effect on him. This strange behavior left everyone dumbfounded. On the contrary, Su Yueling on stage was very excited. The measuring ruler was originally crafted by Lu Ran himself. It's just strange. In the spiritual realm, the measuring ruler cannot be used. What is he going to do? When in doubt. Miso. With a single wave of his hand, Lu Ran saw the black stone tablet inserted into the slate rise from the ground. Then, it quickly shrank into a black wooden piece and was held in Lu Ran's hand. Dancing a sword flower casually. Lu Ran pondered and said, "Not bad, it's just as convenient as before." After all, it was personally crafted by him. He was playing on his own, and Lu Xiaoyang couldn't resist it again. Roaring angrily, "What are you doing? As a Taoist, what is your sword intent? What is its attribute? Show it. If you don't even understand the sword intent, then your Dalai sword sect will lose. Attribute. That fancy thing is useless. Kendo, it's not something you play with like that." Lu Ran casually said. "Slowly raise the measuring ruler in your hand and point your sword at Lu Xiaoyang. Take a light and graceful step forward. Just one step." Click. The intimidating intent of Lu Xiaoyang's fire-robbing sword suddenly burst into a crack. At the moment the crack appeared, it spread around like a spider web, spreading out. Next up. Boom. With a loud bang, the entire scene of the fire saber shattered with a loud bang, leaving nothing behind. Lu Xiaoyang let out a scream, his face pale as paper, and he fell to the ground with a thud. The blood in his mouth sprayed out at no cost, more than 10 times more miserable than the previous Fan Yong. On the contrary, Lu Ran, with light clouds and gentle winds, slowly withdrew the measuring stick and smiled. At this moment, everyone was confused. I thought Lu Xiaoyang would outdo the others today, but in the end, he was intercepted by the sudden appearance of Yinan. 1 foot shattered the sword intent. Su Mei's heart was lifted to her throat, and upon seeing this, her breathing was about to stop. She suddenly turned her head to look at Su Yueling, who was full of joy, as if she had already anticipated it, without any surprise. Xiaoyang. Lu Qingshan dared not pretend anymore. A flying body jumped down from Lingbao and held Lu Xiaoyang in his arms. Exploring the situation of Lu Xiaoyang, his face suddenly became somewhat grim. His own son, Lu Qingshan. Yi Jiangu is a rare swordsmanship genius. Now, the foundation has been completely destroyed by a real fairyland guy. You. Find. Die. Lu Qingshan's whole body was filled with a fierce aura. Buzzing a lavender halo came out from the back of his head, which made Lu Ran jump, like the light of his mother Buddha. But then, a beautiful shadow appeared in front of Lu Ran, looking coldly at Lu Qingshan. It's Su Yueling. Behind her head, there is also a similar aperture. The long sword unsheathed and said calmly to Lu Qingshan, "Don't forget the rules you have set yourself. If you want to fight, I will accompany you. If you want to continue, you can become a master. If you give up, then disband the Yijin Pavilion from then on. Do you still want to be a master? Who should I go to?" The other guys brought by Lu Qingshan, "Look at me, look at you," no one dares to speak. Facing Su Yueling, Lu Qingshan's face was uncertain. Without saying a word, he picked up Lu Xiaoyang and soared into the sky. Stepping on the flashy Lingbao flying sword, carrying their own people, they transformed into flowing light and disappeared into the sky. Elder Su Mei and others also came to Su Yueling's side. Su Mei, who had not figured out the situation, was planning to ask Su Yueling. The latter turned around and faced Lu Ran, kneeling on the ground with a respectful bow. A trembling voice said, "My disciple Su Yueling, pay respects to your master. Congratulations to your master's arrival in the spiritual realm."